Calls those the so-called Brexit states. So were you in that meeting when Trump said all those things? By the way, Mark?
No, I was not in that I was not in that meeting, but you know, our stance is pretty simple. We invest heavily in our home market here. We've created over 28,000 jobs since 2011. We employ more hourly workers than any other automaker here in the U.S. We produce more cars than any other automaker here in the U.S., and we're going to continue to invest. At the same time, we're a global company. We've been in Mexico for 90 years. But regardless, you know, what's said on the campaign trail sometimes is different than when ultimately you govern. And I think we have a proven track record as a company of working with elected officials and policymakers from whatever party they come from, and we'll do that whoever is elected coming out of the election.
But you also have talked just recently about moving plants to Mexico to make it more attractive. What will you do specifically if Trump wins the election? Will you change your business model if he does put a 35% tariff on cars?
Well, it's a big hypothetical question, and you know, right now we're running the business for the long term. As always, we look at the business environment on a continuous basis, and if we see the business environment change, clearly we're going to have to understand what that means for our business. But, you know, it's a big hypothetical. Let's get through November 8th, and let's see who wins, and then we'll go from there.
So in other words, if we were to see Trump win and him talk about that 35% tariff, that's something that an automaker cannot swallow, right? I mean, who's going to buy cars if they're 35% higher in price?
Well, I think overall, every business has to look at the business environment and look at what's going on, and we're like every other business in that regard. So, as I said, we'll see what happens after the elections, and again, we have a very good track record of working with whatever administration is in office at the time.
In terms of the actual production, is it that much more profitable when you do have labor outside the U.S.? Explain that to the public, because this is such an emotional subject. People get angry when they hear that jobs are going to Mexico, are going to China. Can you explain to us why this is so important for companies to be able to have some workers overseas? Explain to us what is happening right now.
Well, first off, I just want to clarify, no U.S. jobs are going overseas. We're actually, of the vehicles that we're taking out of the plant in Michigan, we're actually putting in 2 new, very exciting plants. So that's actually going to be good news for our workers here in the U.S. But overall, you know, customers want a certain amount of value when they're and paying a certain level of price depending upon the vehicle that they're purchasing. And we want to make sure that as a company we're providing that right value so that we can earn a return on it. Those profits come back to here in the U.S. where we can then reinvest in the business and make those decisions to continue to invest here, like the U.S., where 80% of our North American investment of capital expenditures is right here in the U.S., and over 95% of our engineering is done here in the U.S.
Understood. And those jobs are actually high-paying jobs when you look at engineering jobs, certainly given your technology usage. Mark, good to see you. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Maria.
We appreciate it. Mark Fields joining us there, CEO of Ford.